Hi, everybody. This is my last lecture on a piece of literature for the semester because this is the last poem that we are reading together as a class. Um, the poem is called Barbie Doll by Marge Percy, and it was written 50 years ago in 1971. Here is the poem. Barbie Doll. This girl child was born as usual and presented dolls that did pee-pee and miniature GE stoves and irons and wee lipsticks the color of cherry candy. Then in the magic of puberty, a classmate said, "You have a great big nose and fat legs." She was healthy, tested intelligent, possessed strong arms and back, abundant sexual drive and manual dexterity. She went to and fro apologizing. Everyone saw a fat nose on thick legs. She was advised to play coy, exhorted to come on hearty, exercise, diet, smile, and wheedle. Her good nature wore out like a fan belt. So she cut off her nose and her legs and offered them up. In the casket displayed on satin she lay, with the undertaker's cosmetics painted on, a turned-up putty nose, dressed in a pink and white nightie. "Doesn't she look pretty?" everyone said. Consummation at last, to every woman a happy ending. So in this poem, the speaker is perhaps Marge Percy, although she is an observer, like an omniscient narrator almost, similar to the speaker of Harlem. She is speaking about here a generic girl child, someone born in the US, regular and normal, but who commits suicide either literally or metaphorically at the end of the poem. The situation: this girl child grows up in a world that cares about her appearance only. She works frantically as an adolescent to cater to everyone else's ideas of what a good girl and woman should be like. And when she cannot fill everyone's expectations regarding her appearance and demeanor, she kills herself. In the coffin, everyone loves her looks, ironically. And of course, it's also an ironic final line. Here are some of the themes I think are important in the poem. Certainly, the theme of women's place in society is prevalent. Piercy, I think, uses this poem ironically to suggest our societal concentration on female appearance is not just detrimental, but deadly. The quote, happy ending promised to every woman is not there. Women's lives are spent pleasing others regardless of their own internal qualities. Remember the girl child, she was intelligent, she was healthy in every other way, but appearance is what truly mattered. And of course, to every woman, a happy ending is a final ironic stab. What is happy about being in a coffin? Another theme, I think, is bullying and its consequences. In 1971, it might not have been called bullying. We know that term now, and that's been a term around for about 20 years in regular usage, but perhaps it was ridiculing, picking on, calling names. All of these terms are synonymous with bullying. And I think another theme is similar to the first theme, and that is the inculcation of cultural values for girls. Girls play with dolls, girls are cooks and homemakers, girls must look pretty, and girls must please others. And unfortunately, unhappily, and rampantly in society. So the format and structure of the poem. This is a free verse poem. The stanzas have differing numbers of lines. Stanza 1 has a colon after the word said, which makes us pause for a longer period of time to concentrate on the remark. And I think that remark is one of the turning points of the poem. In stanza 3, we have a couple of very short phrases that are part of one sentence but move to the next line. There's a poetic term you don't need to know for that. It's called enjambment. Her good nature wore out like a fan belt. So she cut off her nose and her legs and offered them up. So when like a fan belt is on its own line in the poem, it forces us to concentrate on that simile. Her good nature wore out like a fan belt, comparing her good nature and a fan belt with the word like. What is a fan belt? It's a very masculine image, ironically, in a poem of stereotypes about femininity. But I think it makes sense. how a fan belt just kind of snaps when it's worn out. And that is how her ability to internalize and smile through all of these expectations and bullying worked as well. It just snapped. It wore out. And then offered them up on its own line. It's almost she's offering like a sacrifice. This is what you wanted, she's saying. This is what's wrong with me, according to you. So here they are. But I'm no longer here either. Offering something to someone else has that sacrificial, almost religious quality. What did she offer? She offered her death, in essence. Word choice and diction is very important in this poem, too. And I like how Percy uses words, particularly the words that I starred and defined for you in this brief lecture. The words coy, hearty, and wheedle all have very specific definitions that play into how Percy views women's stereotypical role. Coy, when you talk about someone coy, you really are talking about a woman. In fact, there's another poem called To His Coy Mistress that was written 400 years ago. That's one of the most famous British poems. And coy has to do primarily with women being purposefully shy in order to have men desire them more. And this is an action many women are taught and continue to do to this day, essentially flirt, shyly flirt, or play hard to get. Hearty. The word hearty means endlessly cheerful. So you have to be coy, but at the same time hearty. These are almost opposites. Be cheerful but shy. Be happy but shyly flirtatious. And finally, they must wheedle, which is to essentially coax someone. And in this way, coax men by flattering them rather than blatantly telling them, or coax others. But in this case, wheedle means, I think, the notion that the expectation is for women to wheedle in order to find a boyfriend, find a husband, find someone who will take care of them, because from the get-go, they've been playing with dolls and miniature GE stoves. I think all of this is still true. 50 years later, we may have different words for it, but certainly appearance in the age of social media and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok continues to make a huge difference in how we view others. And then the final word that I want to talk about a little bit is consummation. Finally, she is beautiful, only in death when someone does work on her. Consummation at last. And the word consummation also occurs in a marriage when the couple has sex. So I think Percy chose this word specifically to cement the point about women's role in society. To be married, to bear children, and do what others expect of their gender. She's finally consummated, quote, her own marriage that she will never have because she has killed herself. But there's certainly two meanings of the word consummate there. And there's the other irony at the end. The point hammered home is that for the generic she of this poem, the consummation occurs in death. To every woman, a happy ending. This is not a happy ending. In the same way, if we circle back to the very first text we read this semester by Kate Chopin, it was not joy that killed Louise Mallard, but it was heartbreak that she would not be free. And the happy ending for a woman is death. All of these years later, so almost 100 years after the writing of the Story of an Hour, we have Marge Percy essentially saying the same thing in poetic form. It's an intriguing poem. It's one that we continue to read because it bears rereading, even 50 years later in our world today, where things are very much similar for women. They're a little better, I think. There are different campaigns for anti-bullying as well as focusing on one's appearance and being happy in one's body, where those campaigns did not exist 50 years ago. But it's still a very interesting and intriguing poem, and a good end to the semester where we read lots of different kinds of texts, from feminist texts to texts from diverse authors, um, texts from American authors, a few from British authors, spanning many different um, decades and even centuries, and talking about many different themes. So I hope you enjoyed this semester's readings. I hope it propels you to read more, whether that's out of our text or just in life. Pick up a novel that interests you. Pick up a book of short stories. Read books from the library, read ebooks, read on your Kindle, read anywhere that you can. Because I think in the act of reading, whether or not you're interpreting or just reading for pleasure, it can help you in many other capacities in your life. All right, bye bye.